Okay, so I've got all the parts ordered here and assembled for the Fairies in a Bottle project. Here's an example of a bottle that has some fairy lights that are controlled by this little switch, but I want to control these fairy lights in a bottle like this from the Arduino. So I've ordered some parts. One of them is actually the incorrect part. This one I ordered the wrong end. I should have ordered a female end. But basically these parts convert an electrical signal from the Arduino, from this bank of pins, to a USB signal. So hopefully that'll end up working. I've also got wires, these are male to female, to be able to hook up the Arduino to this device here. So since this device actually is the wrong one, I have another one on order. So in the meantime, I've coded up and configured the Arduino to light the lights on the board, these just the LED lights that came with the unit, in much the same way I would want to control the lights ultimately inside a bottle. So let's go for a moment and see what I've done with the Arduino programming. Okay, so here's the Arduino board. That looks pretty complicated compared to what I thought I was capable of doing a month ago before this class. But as you can see, there are various pins here on the board that are hooked up to these lights. So I'm using 8 pins to control these 8 lights. I've also got 2 what do you call these? Potentiometers. They're just little turn switches that I've also hooked up to these pins here. So when I turn those switches, they have different purposes. This switch controls the speed at which the light pattern changes, and this switch controls the 5 patterns that I've programmed up. And it also allows you to turn the whole light pattern off. So ultimately this will control, again, the fairy lights, but right now, since my parts aren't all in, I'm just controlling the lights on the board. So let's see it in action. So I'm going to turn it on by turning this knob a little bit over. And now we can see it's on the first pattern, which just kind of goes through all the lights. If I turn it a little bit more, it goes and turns the same colored lights on and off. If I go a little bit more, it goes to a random pattern. So random number of lights and random light choices. Kind of cool. If I turn a little bit more, it kind of is like that strongman game at the circus or at the fair, where you hit this thing with a hammer and the ball goes up and hopefully rings the bell, but then it comes back down again. So that's another pattern that I've done. And then another one is kind of this kind of cool pattern, just kind of going out or in and back out again. And then another pattern, if I keep turning it, oh, maybe that was the last pattern. So this knob controls the speed at which the lights change. So if I turn that all the way one way, they're changing about every second. And if I turn it the other way, you can see they're going really, really fast. So kind of cool. And here's the coding I did for Fairies in a Bottle. Most of the coding is really the patterns themselves, but there's also reading from the two input potentiometers. Not too much code, there was some, but most of it again is just the patterns, which was fairly easy to do and kind of fun once I figured out how to control all the different lights. Over on the right side here, this is the system out. So you can see that, and I'm gonna control the board here below, but as I change the patterns, I've output which pattern we are currently obeying. So I'm turning the knob right now. So kind of cool. Maybe someday I can actually hook up an external LED display in order to show this instead of showing it on the computer. So that's what I've done so far. And, you know, kind of fun, good prototype. Next up, as soon as the parts come in, I'll hook it up to the real fairy lights. So gonna cross my fingers.